Hey everyone, how's it going? We're here, another episode, Applesauce and Baloney, talking Hawkeye. Let's get into it. Hey bro, what did you think about it, bro?
Hey, bro, trust the bro.
Trust the bro, yeah.
Yeah. So again, we're assuming you've seen Hawkeye up to this point. What episode 4 is what we're talking about?
Yep. Today's
The week
episode
th-
is,
this
is brought to you by the letter H and numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're 4 episodes in.
right. The letter H 4 and sponsored by your local LARP group. Um, yeah. So we've wanted to talk about Hawkeye for a while with the holidays coming up. Our
Yeah,
last episode we got
happy Hawkeye days. Yeah.
yeah happy Hawkeye days. Yeah, I really hope. I heard a rumor they're the people who wrote the fake musical Rogers want to actually do a real Avengers musical. I'm down for it as long as
Did
it's
that,
not as disastrous as the Spider-Man thing that that was disastrous.
you
But
know what?
yeah,
I'll watch it anyway. I'll watch it
yeah,
anyway.
exactly. So much to talk about in this show. I really love it. Heavy, Die Hard holiday vibes. These Marvel Disney Plus shows are getting better and better.
Yeah.
We've talked about WandaVision. We really enjoyed WandaVision. Falcon Winter Soldier was its own thing, and that's the other thing too. Before we get directly into Hawkeye, I love that all these shows, they're in the MCU, but they all have very different feels, and
Yeah.
Hawkeye's no exception.
Yeah, no, it's very more along the lines of what we got with Falcon and Winter Soldier, where
I would
what
say
if?
better. I would
Yeah,
say better.
well, but it's that thematically it's a more grounded, street level. Even though we're Falcon Winter Soldier was dealing with super soldiers and whatnot, it was a street level adventure. It was the
Right.
less powered people, um, going through what could be just a normal spy adventure show. Um,
Right.
whereas
And
WandaVision
I'm
deals
loving.
with wacky stuff and um,
Yeah, I'm just loving the chemistry though. I like Bucky and Falcon. They're Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan. Great actors. Not taking nothing away from them, but I really feel the chemistry between the girl playing Kate Bishop and Jeremy Renner.
right, right.
You know,
Haley Steinfeld, yeah,
yeah. I mean, they play off each other so well. It's so kind of a reversal of or not a reversal, but definitely like I said, an homage. There's a lot of homage to the 80s action movies that we grew up with. There's definitely, and I'm too old for this shit vibe going on. There's definitely a Die Hard vibe with Hawkeye, who he's just trying to get home to spend Christmas with his family. And
right.
what a great you brought up grounded. What a great grounded motivation for this superhero. Like he's literally just there. He's just there in New York to see this musical, which sets up a lot of his pathos and a lot of the sort of fallout from him losing Natasha,
Yeah,
Black Widow in Endgame. Because really, again, his character just sort of they save the world. The movie ends, and we kind of see an aftermath with Captain America. We see an aftermath with Iron Man, but we see Hawkeye at Iron Man's funeral, but we don't really go into. There's just that moment when they get back from the time heist when he's lost Natasha to get the Soul Stone,
yeah.
and that's it. We don't know how it's affected him, and he's just going back to life.
Well, that's
um
that's the thing. That's the thing that I'm really digging on the shows that they're doing, because it's really showcasing the trauma and the tragedy that these heroes are facing because they're superheroes or because they're in the public spotlight or dealing with this. And Hawkeye refers to it in the show. He's like, I'm not a hero. I'm doing a job. I was a weapon.
mhm. Who
You
was just
know,
pointed in the right direction and given
yeah.
orders, and now
It's
now he has no one giving him orders. Shield is effectively gone. There is no Shield. He doesn't have a boss. He's just sort of like this, retiring superhero,
yeah.
and and we get a great setup. And I just wonder how long, even back into the beginning of Endgame when he's Ronin, when Natasha has to go, pull him off the streets from just killing every bad guy he can find. I wonder if they'd already knew they were going to do the Hawkeye show, because it's just such a great setup
Yeah.
for him dealing with his own demons, because obviously if you're watching our show and you're watching this, hopefully you're familiar with the storyline where Hawkeye's family at the end of Infinity War gets blipped,
Yep.
or they get
They're dusted.
snapped.
Yeah.
They get dusted, and he loses it, and just goes full like Frank Castle Punisher on a mission of no mercy, and so yeah, to kind of, he has to pay for that.
Yeah.
Nothing. He's not allowed to just forget that he killed all those people,
Yeah.
even though he
He's
got his family back after the blip.
yeah. To quote Natasha, he's got red in his ledger that he now has to try to wipe out, um, which really puts both of their stories. They're the two least powered characters of the Avengers, and it really ties their two stories even tighter together. Um, and I'm glad that Hawkeye is getting his TV show. I'm glad that Jeremy Renner is getting a show. We got the Black Widow movie. I really love that they're doing justice to these characters. I love the Black Widow movie. I'm loving this show. I've heard a lot of criticism about this show. A lot of my friends that are diehard Marvel fans, diehard Avenger fans are like, I'm not liking this. I'm not liking the chemistry. I disagree. I
Yeah,
disagree with you wholeheartedly. I think they're doing a great job. I think the
I'm
only
sad
thing,
there's only two more episodes. When you told me there was only two more
yeah,
episodes, I legit had seasonal or Hawkeye affect disorder.
yeah,
I was sad. It
yeah. I
was
don't
seasonal Hawkeye affective disorder.
if that's the one complaint I have about these Marvel shows, and I understand that 6 episodes is still longer than a movie. So they're too short. Like I keep looking at
Mm-hmm.
them like, okay, how are we going to wrap up this story in 2 more episodes? You've
Yeah.
just
So
introduced
apparently,
you've just
yeah.
introduced a new character. So there's now a possible of 5 villains in this show with 2 heroes and a third hero on the way. Which, spoiler, when Echo finally gets her own show, she does become a hero, or at least an anti-hero.
Oh,
Where
is
is
she
this?
getting her own show?
Yep. Aliqua Cox, and I'm sure I butchered her name. Uh, Native actress, new to the scene. She's killing it. I mean, I'm digging her
Cool.
Echo. I'm
So she's
excited.
gonna get her own show, and like that kind of leads me into that, which that's awesome, but like kind of leads me into like I'm starting to really get excited for the young Avengers. I mean,
Yeah,
it's going to be a passing of the torch. I'm going to be sad. They obviously, we've talked about this before on the show. Like you can't, these characters can't play. Chris Hemsworth and all these guys, Chris Evans, they can't play these characters forever.
yeah,
And yet, the MCU wants to go, into perpetuity. They want to hang with Star Wars as far as we're going to make movies until the end of actual time.
yeah,
And until
yeah.
He Who Remains is all that remains. And so I'm getting really excited about, Jeremy Renner, hang out as long as you want, enjoying you being there, but very excited for the new Hawkeye.
Yeah. Well, and
And the way that,
I'd love to see him go on, and he's even made a comment that he'd love to go on and be the leader of the West Coast Avengers, because obviously in the comics there's multiple Avengers teams.
which
Um,
they're setting up from Falcon Winter
yeah,
Soldier, we're
I
definitely
would.
setting up that the Contessa's putting together her sort of dark Avengers
Yeah,
team. And in the comics, yeah, there's East Coast, West Coast,
yeah,
and sometimes they team up, but sometimes they scrap, they brawl.
yeah.
So
And
I'm excited about that.
I'd absolutely love to see Jeremy Renner be the grumpy Nick Fury slash Tony Stark figure to this next batch of Avengers, where he's the guy that sends them out on their tasks, and he's the guy that has to clean up all of the mistakes. I think that's such a great position for him, and for Linda Cardellini's character, who's playing his
Mm-hmm.
wife. I can't remember his wife's name. Um,
Laura.
Laura, who, and we've talked about it, and I'm sure we'll talk about it a little bit more here, feels like they're setting up to have a bigger background than just Hawkeye's wife.
It does. I expect. Okay, so we're talking about up to episode 4 right now. We've got supposedly 2 more episodes left. They've set, so we find out in episode 4 here, spoilers, that Echo, well, that they break into Echo's apartment to get the watch, and you and I were talking about it. We think that the watch might belong to Laura Barton. might
Yeah.
belong to, Linda Cardellini's character. And Echo has a list of, which they've set up for, years now in the Avengers. Even the Avengers didn't know Clint Barton had a family. So it's a big deal that bad guys now know that Hawkeye has a family
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
has their
it's
names.
the biggest superhero problem in comic history is once the
Mm-hmm.
villain knows you have a weakness, which is typically the family,
Your family.
that's your kryptonite and you're done.
Well,
Spider-Man
I
goes
mean, and
through
that's
it,
that's
you know.
exactly, that's the whole point of Spider-Man No Way Home
Yeah,
is, he's literally, Spider-Man's willing to break the multiverse to try to hide his identity to protect Aunt May and MJ and the people and Ned and the people that he loves.
yeah,
So yeah, I think I would be bummed if we didn't get a scene where the bad guys try to attack the Barton household and get a quiver full of Laura Barton,
right, right. Well, and I mean that might happen. It's again, we're gonna keep saying spoiler warning because we don't know what episodes you've
Yeah,
seen, what you're
spoilers,
watching.
spoilers, spoilers.
Hopefully,
Yeah, yeah.
hopefully you're
Do not
hopefully
watch
you're
until
caught
you've
up.
seen. Yeah.
Yeah, we've given you a few episodes before we did this, but last episode we got a reveal that obviously we got at the end of Black Widow that
Yes.
Elena Bolova shows up and she's here to kill Hawkeye.
Yes,
Well,
by on the orders of Contessa,
yeah,
who popped into Falcon Winter Soldier. So definitely setting up to be. I think that then that's oh gosh, what's her name? Elaine from Seinfeld.
right,
Um,
right,
oh my God, why can't I know? And yeah, and we'll put it on the bottom.
yeah, yeah.
Should totally know. We should totally know her name of all people.
Julia
But yeah,
Louise
no,
Dreyfus.
Julia Louise Dreyfus. Apologies. But yeah, they're definitely setting her up to be evil Nick Fury.
Yeah,
Because she's in the know. She knows something's going on. They look like they're leaning her evil, but her motivations are kind of unclear. Which, to be fair, that's kind of what they did with Nick
Nick
Fury.
Fury. Yeah,
At multiple times. We've in Winter Soldier, there was a moment where we didn't know if Nick Fury was on which side of the law or the good and the bad he was. We got that again in we got that again in Spider-Man
yeah,
Far From Home, when he was actually not Nick Fury until the very end credit scene, but actually Talos, the Skrull.
right.
But so yeah, they're just doing a lot of work here, and these shows are just a brilliant way to give us Marvel fans our fix, and also do a lot of the heavy lifting plot wise to set up this next phase of the Marvel movies, because they're going to get so wild here soon.
Yeah.
As we're going to break the multiverse with Spider-Man, then we're going to the multiverse of madness, then Quantumania. So I mean, stuff's about to get real big and wild. So kind of like back to what you said, this grounded story, I don't understand why people aren't getting it, and they're dropping stuff that's going to be important later
Yeah,
in this
which
phase.
which could be the watch. You and I talked about it that we still don't know who the watch belongs to. Um, I was postulating that possibly it's Nick Fury's watch because he's one of the few people that's out there right now that is in the secret. He's off planet. He's doing the whole, and he's going to be coming back in a show called Secret Invasion or Secret Wars, Secret Invasion.
Secret, see, but I think you're right. I don't think it's Nick Fury's. I think you're right. I think you
Yeah,
nailed it when you said that you think it's Clint Barton's wife, because the
right.
way because they find
Because
it.
she's the person he wants to protect the most, and she obviously has connections to his world. She's obviously okay with his relationship and going off and gallivanting with Natasha, and
Right, which they play as BFFs. Like her
yeah,
and Natasha, every time we saw them in the movies, they're almost like sisters.
yeah,
So there's definitely a connection there. This last episode, I think is the first time we see Lara speak Russian. So we know that
German.
she speaks
She
fluent.
speaks German.
Oh, is she speaking
She's
German?
speaking
Oh,
German. Yeah,
all right. But she's
but
definitely
still,
more capable than they're setting. They're definitely setting her up as more capable than she is.
yeah,
I think that I'm pretty sure in the auction when they first mentioned the watch, they say that they got it from the rubble of Avengers Tower, or they got it from
It's the
Avengers
Avengers
Tower.
compound. It's the rubble of
The
the
oh
Avengers compound. The one that
oh the
Thanos
okay,
blows
so
up.
not okay, so okay, so I guess it could be Nick Fury, because I was going to say it couldn't be Nick Fury's because Hawkeye kind of references that this person wanted to get out
Right.
and wasn't
I,
around.
I
And
still, I'm leaning heavy on it being his wife's watch, even though it doesn't look like a
mhm.
feminine watch. I want it to be hers because, like we discussed the other day, I want him to do a flashback where, like, maybe it's Hawkeye's wife that actually got Hawkeye and Black Widow out of Budapest. You know,
Right.
they set up in the Black Widow
Wait,
movie.
it's Budapest.
Yeah, yeah, Budapest, right?
Budapest? It's pronounced
Um,
Budapest. Again, that deep cut Hawkeye thing.
yeah,
Go watch it
yeah,
if you haven't seen it, and then come back and watch this because
yeah,
we're just assuming you've seen up to episode 4.
yeah. But you know, they set it up in the Black Widow movie that most of their time escaping the Red Room was spent, you know, hanging out in air ducts playing tic tac toe. So, you know, wouldn't
Well,
it be
and we got to
cool?
see that. So
Yeah,
and
and
we got to he actually like does that with Kate, right?
yeah, yeah, and it'd be cool to see how they get out of that, and it'd be awesome to see that his wife is actually the one that saves him, and that's where she retires, and she's like, "I'm done with this." That'd be so cool. Are they going to do
Yes.
that? Who knows? They can, like I said, they can go so many different directions at this point, but they only have 2 episodes. So
I know. Oh,
where are we
and
going?
back to right. So back to, yeah, exactly. Where are we going? So back to that big slice of baloney here. We need to talk about because that's what everybody's talking about on the interwebs. You know, so we've got Yelena, we've got Echo, we've got and we've got Echo's mystery uncle, which
Yeah,
everybody's saying, and fingers crossed. I'm one of them. I would love to see it. That her uncle is the Kingpin, but with
right.
2 episodes left. Are we going to see D'Onofrio? Is Vincent D'Onofrio the Kingpin from the Netflix Marvel Daredevil show?
Yeah.
And they've been talking about that. That's in the news too. That they're with the rights and everything. They kind
Yeah.
of, when Disney started its
Well,
streaming service, they kind of shut down those really excellent Marvel shows that you and I loved,
yeah.
and was one of the inspirations that we were like, okay, we need to do a
Yeah.
podcast or a YouTube show talking about
So
this because we're talking about it anyway. Um,
I'm of two opinions on that.
sure.
One, that's such a big thing to drop and make insignificant in the last 2 episodes.
Well, not
But
insignificant.
but they've announced that in the next episode there's going to be a moment that breaks the internet. Now, it
Yes.
could just be marketing hype, but if there's going to be anything that's going to break the internet that hasn't been revealed already in 1 through 4, because Elena Bolova shows up in episode 4, so her fighting Hawkeye is not going to break the internet. What hasn't been revealed yet is Vincent D'Onofrio showing up as Wilson Fisk,
which
whether
which
it's in a
has
post,
which has
whether it's in a
huge.
yeah, whether it's in a
Go ahead.
post-credit scene, because we haven't had a post-credit scene yet, and we're right about due for a post-credit scene in this show.
I know. I
Um,
waited for episode 4. I was sure. I waited all the way through the credits after this last episode because I was sure they were going to do it then. I was
yeah,
positive that we were going to get to see Wilson Fisk, or at least a silhouette of Wilson
yeah,
Fisk.
and
If you don't know Wilson Fisk, major New York Marvel villain. Like
yeah,
he's Daredevil's
he is the New York Marvel villain.
nemesis.
He
He's
controls all
Spider-Man's
the New York.
nemesis.
Yeah, um,
Yeah,
yeah.
he's a bunch of
So
people's nemesis.
yeah, if I had to speculate, I'd say that we're gonna get a post-credit scene, episode 5, of Kingpin discussing what's going on with whoever our main villain is, whether it's Kate's mom, whether it's Jack DeCane, whether it's Echo, whether it's Contessa. I think we're gonna get that, so he's not gonna be the bad guy of the show, but we're gonna get a moment where he shows up and has to discuss, because they keep dropping Uncle too much. They talk about the big man and it's Fat Man moving, and oh, Uncle's gonna be
Yes.
mad and he knows what's going on and he doesn't want you doing this. So whoever this guy is, he's gonna show up, and based on Kevin Feige the other day saying that if and when Daredevil shows up in the MCU, he will be Charlie Cox. That means if and when Wilson Fisk shows up, he will be Vincent D'Onofrio.
Right.
And
Well,
like,
and I mean, okay, Kevin Feige's he's a tricky little trickster. He's like a Loki level trickster with this stuff. What if because everybody's been talking about, oh, is Daredevil, is Charlie Cox in Spider-Man, and
Yeah,
are they doing,
yeah.
are they going to bring that in? What if, um, what if Daredevil shows up at the end of Hawkeye here?
Oh
What if,
man.
like, because he's a street level guy, he would fit in perfectly, more
And
and more perfectly, in my opinion, with Hawkeye's story than a Spider-Man story, which is like superpower. Spider-Man's one of the big ones. If you're going to bring
well, and
Daredevil in,
and he does have interactions in the comic with Echo. They, being a blind and a deaf superhero, they come
right?
into contact a lot. That would be amazing.
What if?
I don't think we'll see Charlie Cox until Spider-Man,
I don't know, because
but
the implications, the implications of them bringing in. I just wanted to wrap up the Kingpin real quick, and then we need to get to Jack Kane. We need to get to the
yeah,
Swordsman, Mister
yeah.
Mustache. But real quick, the implications are almost as big as everybody's hyping the possibility of Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, along with the villains from the other Spider-Man movies coming in. That is setting a precedent. And then if they bring in Wilson Fisk, that means it opens the door for Jessica Jones. It opens the door for John Bernthal's Punisher.
Yeah,
It opens the door for them to, wildly expand the MCU as we know it.
yeah. And the Netflix series don't have to remain canon because we're dealing with a multiverse now.
Right.
So they can just as easily bring them in, and it's still Wilson Fisk. It's still,
But
Daredevil.
not the ways. Well, and
Yeah,
Spider-Man is set, exactly like you're saying. Spider-Man is setting the precedent that, okay, they're bringing in 3 villains, and they even has said in the last Spider-Man trailer that they all died in their universe at the
yeah,
hands of Spider-Man, but yet they're now here to, so they're already setting the precedent that, yeah, whatever happened in the Sony Spider-Mans is fine. It happened, and we can still use those actors and those characters, and those movies are intact. The way they ended are intact, but we can still use them here because they're slightly different
yeah,
versions. And
yeah,
they've been slowly changing our minds on that, with What If, showing, what if versions of, Captain Carter, Captain
yeah.
America, Steve Rogers, Black Widow. They're showing these, they can be the same people but different. And so I don't know, man. Now that that's in my head, God, how great would it be if we get Wilson Fisk in these last 2 episodes, but then we tease Daredevil at the very end of it.
Yeah, yeah. That'd be pretty amazing.
Kevin Feige's done.
Because
He's tricked us worse.
it'd be really easy to bring in Matt Murdock as the defending attorney for one of these people in the last episode of, like, okay, well, what if Echo gets arrested because she's part of the tracksuit
Right,
mafia, and he
right,
comes in to defend her, or
right, and how great would that, if you teased Daredevil here at the end of Hawkeye, then it's a much more organic, and he can get involved in She-Hulk even
yeah,
faster,
yeah. Oh
because then
man,
we've already set up, oh, he's out there, you know, and we're
these.
almost positive he's going to show up in She-Hulk.
I mean, these shows are already, these characters are already so connected together, and like it becomes just this messy web of, like, who can show up where and when.
Right,
But I'm excited for all of it. I want to see them all interact. That's the thing that bums me out about the Black Widow being dead, and about Steve Rogers being gone, and about Tony Stark being dead, is I want to see them interact with all the other characters.
right,
This show makes me want to see a Hawkeye Black Widow show or movie. And
right.
yeah, we could probably go back and recast him and have him younger, but that it
It
just
wouldn't be the
makes
same.
it
Yeah.
just makes me sad because there's such a great chemistry, and it's gonna be
Well, that was one of my
amazing.
favorite episodes of What If, was the second to
Yeah,
last episode of What If that was just Hawkeye and Black Widow, who seemed to be the only 2 people left on
yeah,
Earth
yeah,
fighting. Was such a great I mean, that one really hit me. I think I loved the whole What If run. If there's an episode or a moment that I think about more than anything, it's Black Widow trying to keep Hawkeye going because he's lost
yeah,
his family.
yeah, yeah,
And they're definitely pulling on those same heartstrings here, where we know, like, Clint Barton is such a good guy. He looks like such just a goofy good guy. He's a dad, but there is that dark side to him. There's that Ronin to him, and we know that, like, man, you take his family away and look out.
Yeah.
or you put his family in danger and look
Yeah.
out. But okay, so we got to move on to Mr. Mustache, the swordsman, because that's the other thing you and I talk about a lot is what is up with this guy.
Yeah.
That actor is doing such a great job of making me go like, you're doing everything to make me think that you must be bad, and they're telling me everything
Yeah.
behind the scenes that you must be bad, but you're just such a like a cheesy, smarmy, like I want to like him too. Like he's doing a
Yeah.
really great job.
Yeah. Like I want to see him like on Fantasy Island. You know, I want him to be. I can't remember the character on Fantasy Island now. But
Right,
like
Ricardo Montalban's character,
Ricardo
right?
Montalban's character, yeah,
Right.
Mr. Whatever. But yeah, like
He's doing a great job.
I can't track where he's going, and like I don't know, man.
I mean,
like,
he's messing with us the same way he's messing with Kate, where it's like,
Yeah.
Kate, you know, they're doing the direction, the writing, and that actor is doing such a good job of, I feel just like Kate, where, you know,
Yeah.
she looks at him and she wants to, you know, he's doing stuff and he's making her laugh, but yet
Yeah.
she's like, I don't trust you. I don't like you. You're a bad guy and I know it.
Yeah.
But yet there's from the very beginning of this
So,
episode, they've been
think-
playing him very close to the chest.
I think he's not a great guy. He's definitely got skeletons in his closet. Is he the villain of our show? I don't think so. I think the villain of our show is Kate's mom. But they are going out of their way to telegraph that this guy is the bad guy. There are scenes where he's telling, you know, he's making a statement and they have him blinking over much during it, which is usually a tell that someone's lying.
Right.
They've set up that, you know, he's this amazing swordsman. You know, his character in the comics is an amazing swordsman.
Well, his character in the comics is actually Clint Barton's Hawkeye's mentor. So they're flipping the script on it.
Yeah, I don't think it was. I'd have to go back. It gets messy. I don't know a lot about Hawkeye. He's a character that I've never really dug too into.
Well, yeah, I know a little bit more about Hawkeye, and I'm pretty sure that the swordsman in the old, and we're talking the old comic books now, the swordsman is revealed as, like, he shows up as kind of a bad guy, good guy, but he is the guy who trained Clint Barton in the comic books. So they, you know, in typical MCU fashion, they're flipping it. So now he's the mentor of, or he's the older sort of father figure, literally, to Kate Bishop's Hawkeye.
The new Hawkeye, yeah.
But so there's one line, and it's in the very first episode, that makes me like, this is the thing that makes me constantly go, nope, you're not going to trick me. You're a bad guy. Because when he's sitting with the old dude who ends up getting stabbed by Ronan's sword, and we assume that sword was used by
is the Ronin sword.
Is the Ronin sword used by the swordsman, Jack? What is it? Jack Duquesne.
Jack Duquesne. Yeah.
Yeah, Jack Duquesne. He says to him when they're bidding on it, and the older gentleman says, you know, you can't afford that. You know, he's like, you can't afford $175,000, and he go, well, you know, I'll inherit it someday.
Yeah.
Is pretty ominous. Like, is he now just playing? And then we still haven't gotten to the crux of what those two were arguing about before the murder. When, you know, they throw a lot at you at episode 1, and that's one of the things that I keep keying on, where I'm like, wow, is this just a money grab for her money? But see, then, like you were saying, there's a lot of evidence that Kate's mom is involved in something more than, because she also talks to that older gangster. In that episode.
To Armand,
To Armand, thank you. To Armand, and sort of like threatens him, and so they're keeping a lot of their stuff close to the chest. But again, they've kind of done that with all these every other show. I think if you watched all of our episodes on any of these other shows, you would see we're always complaining, like, how are they going to wrap this up in 2 episodes? And somehow they do. Because Loki, we're like, what is going on? Where is He Who Remains? And then we get like a, you know, 10-15 minute thing at the end of the last episode that goes, all this, but yet more questions. I feel like they're going to do that to us with Hawkeye too. I think we should prepare ourselves that they're going to throw a lot at us. And I don't think the way that they dropped He Who Remains at the end of Loki, if that's any indicator of the possibility of them dropping Wilson Fisk and having a big, you know, classic Vincent D'Onofrio monologue, at the end of Hawkeye, I'm in for it. And
Yeah.
I also wouldn't be surprised if they don't leave us on a cliffhanger in Hawkeye, just like they did with WandaVision, just like they did with Falcon,
Yeah.
just like actually Falcon Winter Soldier probably wrapped
It's
up better than anything.
the least cliffhangery of all their shows.
Right.
But yeah, no, I
But
mean it'd be super cool to see him show up, and like, if Hawkeye and Hawkeye don't defeat the bad guy in this episode, and at the very end Wilson Fisk shows up, and what if he's at odds with Eleanor, and he
right.
shows up and he kills Eleanor if she's the bad person, or he kills Jack if he's the bad person, because Armand definitely sets up that there is a bigger fish in the mix,
Right.
and he knows big people, and she knows big people, and he can fight too. So there's definitely a bigger fish moment that's going to happen in this show.
Well, and from the last season of Daredevil, again, they can take what they want from the Netflix Daredevil show, but they've set up that Wilson Fisk is very interested in him having his own personal superhero assassins, just like to fight, mostly to fight Daredevil, and
Right.
and to be the kingpin in this new world of superheroes. He's got to have his own superheroes,
Yeah.
and he kind of does that with the Bullseye character from the last season of Daredevil, and I really feel like that's what they're going to do here, is that
Right.
he wants a swordsman, he wants Echo, he wants his own people to be able to run his org, because you realistically in this world you couldn't run organized crime unless you've got a counter to the small Avengers,
Avengers,
as Elena likes to say. He knows he can't take on the big ones. He can't take on God from space who doesn't need
the
ibuprofen.
wizards, the gods, or the robots. Yeah.
Right, but he can protect himself from the lower level guys, who are really the only ones that are going to mess with him, because the bigger level guys are doing cosmic level shit. So
So that begs the question then: is Contessa working with, ultimately, if we get a Wilson Fisk, is she working with Wilson Fisk instead of Thunderbolt Ross
or Agent Carter, or
the
Sharon
Power
Carter,
Broker?
the Power Broker?
Who ultimately sent the information to Contessa to have Elena go kill Hawkeye?
I don't think that they're working directly with each other, but I definitely think that they could be in cahoots or using each other, these different factions of bad people,
Yeah.
To their own ends.
Yeah, because I had a moment where I thought that maybe the Hawkeye end scene, since they're wearing winter jackets, could exist in the time frame of the Hawkeye show, since we're dealing with Christmas, where when Ellen, Kate's mom, calls and says, "Hey, I need you to take care of this." What if she's calling Contessa, and Contessa's like, "Okay, go kill this guy."
Right. Well, I mean, it could end.
I mean,
It could end up that we, at the end of this episode, like we were talking about, what if the end of this Hawkeye series is Echo, Yelena, and the two Hawkeyes, and let's not forget Team Hawkeye, which is all the LARPers from Central Park, which I love, by the way. You and I have done some LARPing too, which, live action role play, and just again, we could do a whole episode on how great that is.
Yeah.
Or
the
background characters in Hawkeye are my favorite background characters of any of these shows so far.
Yeah.
Like
Which again, ultimately,
Trust a Bro Tracksuit Mafia. Yeah. The LARPers, Team Hawkeye, as I'm calling them. I mean, it's so great.
Which again, ultimately, is how Kate and Hawkeye are going to get their new costumes. The LARPers are going to make them costumes. Just like if you go back and watch when Clint shows up at the LARPing event, there's actually a dude in the background wearing the OG legit Hawkeye costume.
Is there really?
There is.
That's amazing.
So not only is Kate drawing. So not only is Kate drawing a little Hawkeye caricature when they're at breakfast, there's a character in it wearing the winged helmet, where he's running around with a bow and arrow.
Oh my god, that's perfect. I mean, because we've gotten it with I think we've gotten it with almost every other. Well, maybe not Hawkeye, or maybe not Falcon Winter Soldier, but we got Vision and Wanda in. In the Halloween episode, we got them in their classic cheesy comic book outfits.
But we're gonna end up getting them in their classic Matt Fraction run Hawkeye costumes. We're gonna get the
Yes.
purple outfits with the arrows. We're gonna get a comic accurate suit. It's just not gonna be the Hawkeye costume with the H on the forehead and the hawk wings for the
I don't know,
because
maybe because she said, because it's all about branding. And we
it
actually
is,
need Kate
well, it
Bishop's
is all
help
about
here on
branding.
Applesauce and Baloney.
it,
It's all about branding.
it is all about branding, but he also says that his wife will leave him if he ever puts a costume on like that, which still leads me back to the thought process that she was part of either Shield or whatever organization that Hawkeye was
Right.
working with before, and maybe he made a joke before about wearing a costume, and she's like, "No, never, never."
No.
You know,
Well, but then then that means that he has to, and there has to be a scene where Laura is fighting with him and looks at him as just like, I want a divorce, or
yeah,
so I don't know. Like there has to be, and he, I mean, I want to see the Jeremy Renner eye roll.
yeah,
If she does get him to wear the suit, and he's doing just such a great job playing off of like her youthful enthusiasm.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we could go on and on and on and on and on Hawkeye,
Yeah.
and we'll definitely be back to wrap up the last 2 episodes.
Yeah, because there's lots
still-
there's still lots more to talk about. There's a lot of things that we didn't get to talk about here. There's a lot of theories that we're projecting that we want to see if we're on target with.
Yeah,
But-
and we are going to get, as soon as Eternals, I believe, drops next week. We
on
will do
Disney Plus,
Eternals. I did try to go see it. I'm not going to name names because that's not what we do here on Applesauce Baloney. But just so y'all know, I did try to go see. You obviously know, other than the last episode where I was, there in Arizona with Thor. I live in the middle of nowhere. I'm under about 2 feet of snow right now, in a cabin in the woods. I did make a whole trip, the hour-and-a-half trip, to go see Eternals, and my local movie theater replaced it with Clifford, the Red Dog, without changing it. They got some complaints from some of the locals. I'm in a more rural area. Eternals was a little too high concept for them.
Yeah.
And so they changed it on me. So it was a very sad trip home from that.
Well, that's what you get for living in an area with a one-screen theater. I mean, that's the problem I had when I was up on my vacation when I went to go see Venom.
Yeah, but you were in Montana. If there's anywhere more remote than where I'm broadcasting from, in middle of nowhere, Wyoming, it's Missoula, Montana, and your movie theater, who should get credit, give them a name drop again. Your movie theater was able to get their stuff together and get Venom up. I'm unfortunately going to have to see Eternals on the small screen first. I'm desperately avoiding spoilers, but I already know that I guess we hear the voice of Mahershala Ali as Blade at some point in it.
Yeah.
So
because apparently the character of Dane, who's the Black Knight, who's Kit Harington. God, that's why these names are so hard to freaking keep track of. It's like, he, I guess, at some point in the comics teams up with Blade. So whether we're going to see him show up in the Blade movie,
Very
or he
cool.
gets his own thing. But again, that just leads us back to the interconnectedness of all these characters. And there's so much that Marvel can do. I'm here for all of it. I'm loving it. I hope that it doesn't get, I hope this show doesn't get Cowboy Bebopped, because I heard that just got canceled.
Yeah, sad. And I still think we're gonna get together and talk about it with Max. I think we should talk about it. I think
we'll do a dive into it because I love the anime. The live action is still relevant. We'll talk about it. If anyone wants to hear us ramble about anime, you're welcome to join us.
Yeah, because I really feel like some of these high concept shows, then if you're gonna do it, Netflix, like Dark Crystal, like Cowboy Bebop, if you're gonna do some of these high concept shows, you gotta give it more than one. Don't do it if you're not gonna do more than a season and really commit to it, because the high concept stuff, it takes a minute. Sure, you're gonna have your Witchers that people are just gonna love, but you can't put Henry Cavill in everything, Netflix. Okay, so you're gonna have to sell it a little bit better. Give us some time to get into it. I really feel like Cowboy Bebop never really got a chance out the gate, because it's so beloved.
Well, I mean, I'm just gonna stop you because we're gonna start talking about Cowboy Bebop, and we've already gone long on Hawkeye. So if if you like what we're talking about and you want to join us later for talking about Cowboy Bebop, Eternals, Spider-Man, all of the good stuff that we're going to be talking about, definitely like, share, subscribe, follow along.
Yeah, all
drop,
I want for
drop
Christmas,
some comments.
Yeah.
Let us know.
All I want for Christmas is for us to get to 100 subscribers. So share this, tell a friend. We're trying to figure out how to get this on a podcast. I know it would be easier for everybody to listen to it instead of having to look at these faces. It'd probably make it a lot more palatable. But yes, please like, subscribe. We're not going anywhere.
Tell a friend, tell a bro.
Tell a bro. Trust a bro.
Trust a bro. Get everyone on board. But anyway, guys, that's today's episode for Applesauce and Baloney. We'll see you next time. And until then, stay on target.